Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, we're breaking down our thoughts on the contemporary romance title, Tools of Engagement. Stay tuned. Today's episode is sponsored by the book We Are Not Like Them, written by Christine Pride and Joe Piazza. It's the Mocha Girls Read National Book Club's October Book of the Month. Visit their website and join in today. Jen and Riley have been best friends since kindergarten. As adults, they remain as close as sisters. Though their lives have taken different directions, Jen married young and after years of trying is finally pregnant. Riley pursued her childhood dream of becoming a television journalist and is poised to become one of the first Black female anchors of the top news channel in their hometown of Philadelphia. But the deep bond they share is severely tested when Jen's husband, a city police officer, is involved in the shooting of an unarmed Black teenager. Like Taraji Jones's An American Marriage and Jodi Picoult's Small Great Things, We Are Not Like Them explores complex questions of race and how they pervade and shape our most intimate spaces in a deeply divided world. But at its heart, it's a story of enduring friendship, a love that defies the odds even as it faces its most difficult challenges. We Are Not Like Them is available now. Pick up your copy wherever books and audiobooks are sold. Visit mochagirlsread.com to learn more about the book club and to read along with them. The links are in the show notes. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Tamara Ford, and welcome to Book Chat here on the Shelf Addiction Podcast. Participate in this discussion by joining the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official. I hope to hear your thoughts on today's topic. You can always find me and Casey on Twitter and Instagram. The links for everything I've mentioned are below in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with some book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. That would really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing so. The uncut video version of this podcast is available now on Patreon. Join us there for exclusive videos, including after shows and more. So if you're interested in that at all, you'll need to come on over to Patreon and sign up. Without further ado, let's get started. We've got a lot to cover today, so we are going to jump right on. And joining me is feature co-host Casey from Heartful of Ink. Welcome back, Casey.
Hello, hello. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay. This is going to be fun today, guys.
Yes.
Today we are going to share something that we don't normally do on like a bookish chat. It's no book adaptation to compare, no hot topic, but we are talking about a rom-com fiction titled Tools of Engagement by Tessa Bailey. Who picked the book? Who do you think picked the book?
I'm sorry. I apologize up front. I'm very sorry.
Girl. Okay, tell our audience, tell our people why you chose this book for me to read.
Okay, so Tamara doesn't often read rom-coms, and I wanted to throw her in the deep end, so to speak. I used to read Tessa Bailey all the time. It's been like a good 5 or 6 years since I've read anything by Tessa, but she's gone into rom-coms. And I was like, okay, let's try out her latest book, Tools of Engagement. And I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. This was not a good book to throw at you for a vast number of reasons that we will get into.
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted me to be like, I found a new love of rom-coms, this wasn't the book to do it with.
No.
So before we dive into that, as we do with book chats, we are going to give you guys the stats and the synopsis. So we'll start with that so you know what we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. Tools of Engagement is the third in a series called Hot and Hammered. First published September 22nd, 2020 by Avon and Harper Audio. The audio book was narrated by Charlotte North. The paperback comes in at 368 pages, and the unabridged audio comes in at 9 hours even. Casey, would you read the synopsis, please?
I will. In Tessa Bailey's latest rom-com, two enemies team up to flip a house, and the sparks between them might burn the place down or ignite a passion that neither can ignore. Hair, makeup, clothing, decor, everything in Bethany Castle's world is organized, planned, and styled to perfection, which is why the homes she designs for her family's real estate business are the most coveted in town. The only thing not perfect, her track record with men. She's on a dating hiatus, and after helping her friends achieve their dreams, Bethany finally has time to focus on her own. Flip a house from framework to furnishings, all by herself, except her older brother runs the company and refuses to take her seriously. When a television producer gets wind of the castle sibling rivalry, they're invited on Flip Off, a competition to see who can do the best renovation. Bethany wants bragging rights, but she needs a crew, and the only member of her brother's construction team willing to jump ship is Wes Daniels, the new guy in town. His Texas drawl and handsome face got under Bethany's skin day one, but the last thing she needs is some cocky young cowboy in her way. As the race to renovate heats up, Wes and Bethany are forced into close quarters, trading barbs and biting banner as they remodel the ugliest house on the block. It's a labor of love, hate, and everything in between. And soon sparks are flying. But Bethany's perfectly constructed life is one kiss away from going up in smoke. And she knows falling for a guy like Wes would be a flipping disaster.
All right. Well, okay, let me just say when it started, I didn't think it was too bad. It was a little cheesy, but I expect cheese. I didn't instantly like the heroine, I felt like, she had some problems. And as the book went on, I'm like, this girl needs to be in freaking therapy, man. She's got she's got more going on than some supportive guy can give her. So that kind of bothered me. I thought it was supposed to be light, but this girl really got problems.
Yeah. No, she has some very weird Stepford wife vibes going on that were like more than just regular anxiety issues. It was anxiety and OCD and maybe a little bit of bipolar thrown in there just for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
And I say this as somebody like diagnosed with a laundry list of bullshit, and I've been in therapy for a long time. So
yeah. She needed therapy first and foremost. And actually, maybe if she had a therapist in this book, I might have been able to accept some of the changes that she was doing. If we just had a little side, she didn't have to be at the therapist all the time, but like a couple of scenes with some breakthroughs, not be like, okay.
Yeah. You don't just heal in 2 weeks while flipping a house. That is not possible.
Girl, okay.
For anybody.
Yes. I was going to say it first. How in the hell do you flip a house that is torn down? Like they basically said this house was a wreck. It wasn't even, how the brother had a house that was in pretty good shape when they started. This thing was a money pit, basically. And they flipped this thing in 2 weeks with two old dudes with aching backs and sore hips.
Apparently, they also got some weird interns from the TV producer. Like there was some line about that, but they never like actually physically showed those interns. So
I know
my big shrug, like maybe the rats like grew overnight and would like build the house for them, like Cinderella.
Yeah, and if you're only working during the day, right, in filming, you're spending half your day doing shoots over and over, scenes over and over. There's no way that house could have been done in 2 weeks.
No.
That was absolutely ridiculous.
Absolutely. Like, that's just one of the many things that was completely unbelievable about this book. Ridiculously unbelievable. Like, come on. Come on. The whole thing with the reality TV show was not necessary.
Oh my God. Okay. So at the wedding, when that pops off, that's how it starts. They're at the wedding and this, I guess, producer of reality TV shows happens to be a guest, I guess. And the brother's like, oh, hey, meet this producer. And before you know it, she's made up a show on the spot all about sibling rivalry. And I'm like, please, we didn't really need this extra stuff. I guess I'll call it stuff instead of something else.
There was no need for the camera crew.
No. I thought maybe something would become of that or something serious would happen in front of the camera crew or something, but nothing. They were just around.
It was just a weird prop for the plot line.
Yeah.
But like, shouldn't have been. It was really weird and weak. And again, super unnecessary.
Yeah. Maybe just a page filler, I guess.
It was bad.
I don't know. Yeah. So there's that. And then, okay. So I think the biggest thing, to be really honest, that jumped out at me as something really annoying is how this guy kept on like ribbing her about her age. And they kept talking about this age gap. And I'm like, the whole first, I don't know, I didn't even mark the point where it was revealed how big the gap was. But I'm like, well, how old is she? And how old are you? Like how this was going on, like an issue. I was expecting him to say, like, or the book to say, well, she's 45 and he's 25. I expected something massive, like, because even like the whole Zumba thing and the ladies gathering, she was making her sound like this old ass maid. And I'm like, well, and then when it comes out, well, she's 30. Only 30, and he's 23, which is young, but that's 7 years difference, man. That's not a lot when you're an adult.
No, it wasn't that big of a deal, but also I would not want to date any 23-year-old right now. I'm almost 30 myself, and I'm just like, no, they're young idiots and babies. Get away from me. Get away from me.
And actually, that's funny because, like, funny side story, when I was like 31 or something, no, I think I was 30. I was 30. Yeah, I was acting like I was old and decrepit. Well, I guess as a 30-year-old, I felt I was old and decrepit. And now that 30 is in my rear view, I'm like, that was, girl, you was dumb. You were not old and decrepit. But anyway, at that point, some younger guy did try to talk to me. He was like 22 something. And it was like fun, but he was lame. I'm like, I can only talk to him for like a couple of weeks before I was like, no, thank you. Pass.
That's how I feel about those boys. You're too young. Go away. Go back to elementary school.
Go get some experience and then come back. I don't know.
That's another thing I want to bring up. So Tessa Bailey used to be known for her dirty talk. Like that was Tessa Bailey's dirty talk, at least like 6 years ago. Everything she wrote was super dirty. This was like vanilla mild for me. And I was like, what happened to the queen of dirty talk? Because this is not dirty talk at all. Like this is vanilla, mild, bland pudding. What is this? Is it because he's 23 and doesn't know anything yet?
Well, let the author tell it. He is the bomb.com in the bedroom. And Tessa says that, the character Bethany has never come like that before in her life. She's never had any experience like that before. And apparently, like, this guy is just amazing. Like, he's been around a couple of blocks, but I don't know.
I don't believe it. I mean, maybe Bethany's just picked up some really shitty men. I believe that. But the fact that he's like the best thing ever, no. The sex scenes were like, okay, and I did not know she was supposed to be like the queen of like sex scenes or anything like that. But I thought they were kind of cringy. So like a couple of times I actually was like, oh my God, what the fuck? And I would just like hit the fast forward button. Was that the bathroom scene?
Yes.
That was super, super cringy.
It was cringy. And like at this one point, I felt like he was going to spank her, but I didn't think he did. I couldn't tell. I'm like, did he actually spank the girl or not? Or did he just like hit her from the back? I'm like, I couldn't tell what the fuck was going on.
I think he wants to act cool. And like, I know he said he would spank her a couple times, but I don't think he ever actually did anything. And it was just like super mild. And everybody's like, oh my God, it's so hot. The sparks are flying everywhere. And I'm like, what sparks?
No, I didn't feel any sparks. They were just, horny, and they were in the right place at the right time. And I didn't really buy them as a genuine couple. I guess maybe having him with a niece that he needed to take care of, was supposed to help age him like mentally a little bit, but it kind of didn't work.
No. Again, I wouldn't trust a 23-year-old man with anything, let alone a 5-year-old girl. Like, that was just, and so I kept wondering why his sister just disappeared. And of course, she shows up and she's a drug addict.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, joy. Of course she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like that either, the drug addict thing. I would have almost like, no, because then that would be sad if the sister died. But I don't know. The drug addict thing was kind of off.
It just felt really weird and awful. Like, okay, so she's a drug addict. She shows up, high off her ass. And she's like, well, I'm just going to sell the house. So now he has to move in with his girlfriend. And then like 3 chapters later in the epilogue, she shows up and she's totally perfect and happy and everything is good. Yeah. And I'm just like, what?
Because some time skipped and we're just supposed to know she's great now. Everyone's one big happy family. There's some more babies on the way. There's a wedding that happened. By the way, Miss Perfection got married in her house with like it not being decorated. It not being like, it was a mess. It sounded like a mess.
Yeah. She mentioned dust everywhere. And I was like, I'm not a perfectionist, but I would dust before my wedding. Like,
I know.
No, this is a weird way to end it.
I know. I couldn't see. And that is the thing about these characters. They weren't really the story. I think it wanted to be character driven, but there wasn't enough meat for me to see the changes in the characters for the things that happened, especially at the end. I'm like, this makes no sense. Just because, the main character, Bethany, decides to not have such, I guess, a worry about what people think of her constantly, just because she doesn't want to be perfect constantly, doesn't mean that all of a sudden she loses her sense of style and taste. And now I'm just going to be running around barefoot in the dust. Right? What the hell? I don't know. That seems ingrained. The woman has people keep saying the woman has great taste. Look at all her designs. Look at this. Her dresses, her shoes, her look is put together. And now I'm running around here getting married in a dusty house. Just doesn't make sense to me. But some good deed make you turn into a dusty person.
Sorry. Yes. It was so bad. Like, it was just legitimately bad.
Yeah.
So the one scene that made me just stop and laugh was the big, dark, breaking moment when child services came to view the house that evening. And they're like, just go your whole routine, do what you got to do. And so, they're the perfect couple. They read books. They put the 5-year-old to bed. And then they go talk to the social worker. And she's like, this house is just too cold. Staged. You don't get you don't get guardianship. You are rejected because this house is cold. I laughed. Like, oh my God. Joke. I want to see that paperwork. And I want to see that woman's boss read that paperwork and say, what? Just, the house is cold, so they don't get the child?
In what world? Yeah, that's crazy. And then also, in what world does child services work that fast?
Right? Like, that was insane. They're not that fast. And they're not going to reject you because the house feels cold.
No. I think that maybe, like I mentioned, a couple of added scenes maybe lengthen the time of this whole, tools of engagement experience to maybe 3 or 4 months versus 2 weeks, and give us a chance to actually like Wes as a hero. I feel like I didn't get a chance to even actually like him.
I didn't like her or him. I didn't like either of them. Like, it was weird. It was no, like, that's all I can say is no. I didn't like that.
And for me, I feel like, when we read paranormal romance, it's important for me to feel like I want the couple to be together. If I don't even have that, then what's left? This is a romance at its core. And if I don't want to root for the couple, then what are we doing?
At least in, paranormal romance or urban fantasy books, you can kind of have like the world building, or you can root for the bad guy to go down or whatever. Like, in this book, it's literally just about the couple. There's nothing else to root for.
Yeah.
Maybe the house to fall down, but I don't want the house to fall down.
Yeah. Well, I think Bethany's brother was a pretty interesting villain type. And from what I can tell, trying to piece together book 1 and 2, I guess book 1 or 2 was his brother getting married with his crazy wife who kept wanting to, why couldn't she just tell the man she was fucking pregnant? Like, I didn't understand that. Like, what is this wife doing? It was like...
She was insane.
Yeah.
Like, there was that story about how she knitted him his socks that were the same from when he, had communion or something. And he didn't guess it right away, so she threw them in the fire and burned them. And I was like, she needs therapy too. Like, we just need to pull a therapist for everybody here. We just need everybody in therapy.
Yeah. Like, the brother was the worst. He was like, who talks to, I mean, okay. So yeah, sometimes siblings nitpick each other. I guess in the end, he came out kind of like, oh, she did a better job. She had a tore down house. Who's writing this thing? He did do that at the end, but the whole time he's kind of asinine. Like, her sister and her best friend, I'm like, or sister and sister-in-law, I guess they were, whenever they got together, I didn't even really like them that much as a group.
Just Us League was weird and creepy. Yeah. I'm just, yes, that was a weird and creepy group. I mean, I'm all for female empowerment, but that felt like a weird cult. Like,
yeah, the little saying they would say and writing stuff on the board.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. I don't know. To be honest, you guys, like, looking at the cover art, those of you who are watching the video on Patreon can see the cover art. But I would have seen this and scrolled right by it. I would have not engaged with this book at all, with this blonde girl who this 5-year-old kept calling Elsa, like she's a fucking Disney princess. And this dude on the roof that looks like, with a cowboy hat, and that looks ridiculous. I'm sorry. I would have scrolled right past this book.
Yeah, no, it looks childish. I've seen cartoon covers that look childish too, but I've seen others that look really, really well done. Like, it's like somebody drew it by hand.
Somebody did on their iPad.
Yeah, like it doesn't look professional at all. Doesn't look good at all.
No, it doesn't look good. It's not attractive. The colors aren't attractive. Nothing pops. At least pull me in with something. And then I get in there, I'm in the book, and I'm like, oh man. Like, all the scenes with the little girl, I'm like, I think that's messed up the pacing a little bit as well. Like, this ready-made family thing, I don't really like those genres. Like, oh, let's get together and we'll be a family. I'm like, there's just a lot that I did not like. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Not
it's
sorry.
Okay. It's okay. I'm sorry I picked this.
Okay. You know what? I think we should take a break right quick. And
Okay.
there are more things I want to complain about, but I want to do it on the back end of the commercial break. Then we can also rate it.
Yes.
And I did listen to the audiobook, so I have a few comments on the audiobook narrator. And I don't know, maybe we can talk about this type of fiction in general and maybe something that actually I might like. I don't know. Okay. All right, guys, check out the commercials. Click the links in the show notes. Hop on over to Amazon and check out my book review journal. Appreciate you for doing it. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Here's to getting back together, to planned lunches and unplanned cookouts, to grandma's recipes and smells that take us back, to passing down plates and traditions. Here's to warm embraces and familiar faces, to your best friends becoming best friends, to scheming, dreaming, and food still steaming. Here's to laughter and love, to growing closer than ever. For all of life's get-togethers, Chinette, here's to us.
Today's episode is brought to you by the Shelf Addiction merch store. Check out all the bookish t-shirts, notebooks, mugs, and more. Don't miss out on these original designs, perfect for any book nerd. Support the podcast and visit shelfaddiction.com/merch and pick up your next favorite bookish item. Welcome back, guys. Did you enjoy those commercials? I know you did. Anyway, let's jump into the back half of this conversation. I thought, and I just thought of this, but I thought it could be funny to read bits from the 1-star comments on Goodreads.
Oh, yes. Those are always fun.
I swear, I feel like when I don't like a book, I want other people to co-sign.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go on here and I'm just going to pull some at random. I'm not going to give anybody any quotes. So if you're curious of who said what, head on over to Goodreads. It's public. Just look it up. Okay, I'm going to read it. I'm going to take a bit by bit. Okay. One reviewer says, reformed partying heroes I can understand. He's a former rodeo star with a niece to raise and is great at his job at 23, exclamation mark. Did Bailey max out her competence points on this character? Because save me from self-righteous heroines that insist on illogical independence, quote unquote, when in-text criticism have nothing to do with their femininity and have everything to do with their stupidity.
Oh my God.
Yikes. But I'm not going to lie. I don't disagree. Mm-hmm. She was very illogical, doing dumb shit. Let me get on a roof that I've never done before. Now, see, that's the thing. If you want to do something new, do it, girl. But you have to learn.
Be smart about it.
Yeah. I'm going to jump on I'm going to climb up on a 2-story roof and just start swinging a hammer. Who does that?
Idiots.
They get mad when your love interest says, you're not going on that roof. It's dangerous. Oh my God. Okay, let me find another one. One reviewer says, I'm so disappointed I didn't even enjoy this book. I had high hopes for it because I really liked the first 2 books in the series. My main problem with this one was the heroine, Bethany. It was so tiring being in her head. She was so self-righteous and insisting on making illogical decisions again.
Yeah.
And her insecurities were mostly what this book was about. I agree. Mm-hmm. Like we said, therapy girl, that could have helped this book come together instead of making us suffer through all your, I don't know, internal monologues, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Therapy helps everybody.
I'm waiting for someone to say something about the sex. Come on, somebody. I know somebody got something good.
Yes.
This book is barely a step above a Fabio Harlequin romance author.
I'd say it's a step below. I would much rather read Fabio and Harlequin.
I haven't even read one of those, I don't think.
Should we do that next? Should I torture?
Oh, God. I need a break. I need a break first.
Okay.
If it was better than this, I'm not opposed.
I mean, yes, it's better.
Oh, okay. Lord.
Bananas, but it's better.
Okay, and there's lots more, y'all. I'm not going to read a ton of them, but I feel vindicated. Like, and I knew I didn't want to be too hard on the book, right? Like, if you don't read a lot of it, I didn't want to come into it like, but I'm sorry. I'm glad I'm not the only one, bad, DNF, cheesy, smutty romance, things like that I'm seeing on my screen.
Okay, I wouldn't call it smutty. Smutty is actually a good term for me. This is just terrible, sexy, cringe stuff. Like, give me smutty. This is not smutty. This is not the dirty talk Tessa Bailey that I remember.
See, to me, I put smutty with crunchy, because to me it could be, and that may be because I don't read a lot of it, but to me something can be extremely sexy and hot and spicy and not make me go, oh, what is that? Or I'm like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing.
Yeah, I don't have smutty as like a bad term in my brain. I'm like, ooh, smutty, give it to me. I want to try it.
Okay.
I see. I understand where you're coming from. Yeah. No, smutty is not a bad term for me. I'm like, this isn't smut because it's not hot. It's not sexy. Like they're two vanilla beans trying to.
Okay. So smut just means kick up the heat a notch or two.
That's what it means to me in my brain. So I don't know. I'd be interested to see what other people have to say, what they determine smutty as. Because if somebody thinks this is smutty, I'm sorry, baby, but it's
not. By that term, it's not smutty. It's really not. But question of the day, you guys, tell us, what do you think smut means? Like, tell us what your definition of smutty means. Like, is it bad or is it good? And how dirty is it, in your opinion? Which is subjective, I know.
Absolutely. But I want to know what other people saying what smutty means. Like, I've heard somebody say that Julia Quinn is like super spicy. And I was like, oh, baby, no, she's one step above this vanilla bean. Like, that's not spicy at all. If you think that's spicy, I don't know what to do with you. What show was that? I think it was a reality TV show. Yes, it was. It was Married at First Sight. When Beth told her husband she didn't want to have that plain vanilla sex, like, missionary plain vanilla sex. That's what you might be into. And that's okay. That's okay. That is okay. Everybody has their spice levels. Everybody's personal preference is okay. Yeah. But if you're telling me Julia Quinn is spicy when I think she's like half a step up above Tessa Bailey in this book, Tools of Engagement, like, go sit with your vanilla ice cream and enjoy that level of spice. I'm going to be over here with other smutty stuff and enjoying my life.
Yeah. And like, honestly, when someone tells me, wow, Tessa Bailey, like you said, she usually writes, she's known for having like these hot scenes and stuff like that. My definition of hot is like porn on paper, right? Like, oh yeah, I can visualize all of it. It's some business going on. It's fun to read. But this like had none of it, like none of it. So is she like getting away from that?
I don't know. Again, it's been like 6 years since I've read her. And when I was reading her way back in the day, she was publishing with Entangled Publishing back then. And it was, Dirty Talk was good. Dirty Talk was hot. There was one guy who would set a timer. He's like, I'm going to get you off in 60 seconds or less. And, he'd do it twice. Like there is some done shit in her original books way back in the day. And so reading this, I'm like, where is this the same person writing the book? Like, this does not compute in my brain.
Oh, no. Well, let me just say, every time Wes said baby or called her baby, I wanted to vomit a little bit in my mouth because especially the narrator, she's like, oh, such and such baby. I'm like, oh my God.
No.
I'm like, I fucking cannot. Like, I have an aversion to baby. Do not ever in your life say baby to me, like ever.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Especially when it's the younger man talking to the older woman and there's a 5-year-old running around. Like, no, can we not? Can we come up with something else?
Baby, you're so perfect. You're so fucking hot. Let me smack this.
No.
Basically, is the things he was saying to her. And he would tell her, stop thinking. I'm like, oh my God. You should have to tell her to stop thinking if you were doing it right.
Apparently he was doing it right, which was super confusing to me, but okay.
Yeah. I don't know. And okay, so something else that threw me is like the writer actually said in here, we used to be enemies, but now we're lovers, or something like that in a scene. And I honestly did not get enemies to lovers as the thing here. They weren't enemies. They didn't really know each other.
So supposedly they've been bickering for the first 2 books, but we didn't see any of that. And this is one of those things that I hate and I yell at my authors for all the time is telling versus showing. They told us, and I'm using air quotes, told us in the first 2 chapters that these 2 people hated each other. And then in chapter 3, when they finally interact with each other, they're just like being all nice and happy. And he's quitting his job to go help her. And then she's like climbing him because of rats. And, like it's supposed to be really happy. And I'm just like, they're not enemies. I don't see them fighting and bickering and you telling me that they fought and bickered doesn't mean that they were enemies. So no, like this, no. I could get into editorial spiel, but this is weak writing is what it is.
Okay. Because I feel like in most cases, even when there's bickering involved, it's like flirty bickering. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I really hate your guts. Yeah, that's how he took it. I don't know, but she clearly didn't take it that way because she was very self-conscious about her old, ripe age of 30.
So I swear to God, there was the part in this book where she said she was 31. And then he said he was 23. And I was like, wait, isn't that 8 years? But every other time they said 7 years. And then she started saying 30. And I was like, did I imagine that 31? Or
I don't remember the 31.
But there was another part where I was really confused about the timeline because he said he'd been there for like a year with his niece. And then when Becky shows up, she's like, I've only been gone for a month. I'm not that bad, am I? And I'm like, was it a year? Or
was it a month? Yeah.
Or was it like something in between there? Because everybody has said something different at some point. Somebody said it'd only been like 6 months at one point. But there were a lot of numerical inconsistencies that threw me.
That just sounds like poor editing. Like someone should have caught it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I shouldn't think that she's 31 if you keep saying it's 7 years.
Yeah.
Unless Becky's supposed to be like really high and unstable and doesn't realize time. And that's why she's saying it's only been a month. But then nobody corrects her. Be like,
I don't know.
You need more help because it's been a year, not a month.
It's not good.
No.
You know what else isn't good? Like, okay, I'll tell you a little bit about the audiobook narrator, like for real. So I have never, I don't think heard. I think her name was Charlotte North. I don't think I've listened to her before. And I've got to say, she does some of the voices fabulously. She does Bethany great. And she does the little niece great. She has a great baby sounding voice. And she calls her Elsa and everything else. So she's good at that. But man, when she was reading for Wes, all those scenes where she is like, there are quotes and he is talking to her.
Oh no.
It sounds not great. Just something about it. Like, I went to get coffee. I went to the drive up and the narration was playing. I pushed pause on that shit because I didn't want anyone to hear what I was listening to.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
Yeah, so I would like to probably give that narrator another chance with another type of book if I come across her, but I won't be like seeking her out as a narrator to follow and, you know, just listen to stuff by her. But that's just my 2 cents. I just couldn't take
those are good cents. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys like this narrator, tell me if there's something that you really love that she's done that's very different from this, because maybe it's just something that's just isn't her genre. I don't know. I'm not familiar with her, but anyway, that's all I have to say on that topic.
No, I've never heard of her. I've never listened to her before, but it very well could have just been this book.
Mm-hmm. It could have been.
She was trying to do a 23-year-old man from Texas.
Baby. Like, oh my God. Every time she said baby, I was like, what?
Nope.
Oh God. Anyway, should we just rate this thing? I mean, should we rate it?
Yes. Are we going to be nice or are we going to be mean?
Well, we're going to be honest. And if that comes out mean, it is what it is. So would you like to do the honors, Casey? Would you like to go first?
No, I want you to go first.
Okay. All right. So when I first ended the book, I was like, okay, maybe 3 on a good day. A half hour later, I'm thinking about the book and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not marking 3 on Goodreads. I'm not doing it because that would not be accurate. So I'm going to go with a 2. I didn't think it was the worst thing I ever read, so I wouldn't give it a 1. But I think 2 definitely for me falls in that category of it was not great. It was not good. Because at least for me, 3, I'm pretty neutral. I consider 3s kind of neutral. Mm-hmm. And I'm not neutral about this book. I definitely veer toward the I didn't like side. So I went with 2 out of 5. What about you?
So I'm kind of in that same boat where I don't like it. I didn't like it, but it wasn't the worst thing I ever read. So I guess I will also go with 2 stars because I was kind of fluctuating between 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like, it's not the worst book I've ever read, but it's definitely just not anything I would recommend to people to read. It's not something I will ever reread. I will not go read the first 2 books in the series. And if there's something else in the series, nope. I may give Tessa Bailey another try, or I may just go back to her old stuff because that was better.
I won't.
I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm going to stick with stars.
Yeah, I'm done with it.
I don't blame you.
Unless you come back to me and say like, hey, Tamara, I think you should read this one. It's way different than the other one. It's much better. It has the sex I was talking about. Check it out. I might entertain it, but I'm kind of like over the all white cast anyway. Like, I just feel like new books should not be like that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. I can't speak for the old books because I wasn't paying that much attention back then. but it was probably just as white.
Yeah.
It was annoying. So.
Yeah, it is. But I would like to know, because I kind of also had like a little bit of a time. I think that's why I originally started with a 3-star, because I didn't want to be overly judgmental. Like we said, I don't read a lot of this stuff, so I didn't want to be so critical. But in the end, I just couldn't do it. So I would like to know, what should I be reading? Do you have anything that you think, even if you can't pull books out of thin air, like what type of themes do you think I would like, knowing what kind of reader I am? Like, if I want to sit in this rom-com genre for half a second.
Well, yeah. I would say, to be quite blunt and honest, just go find the authors of color. Like Talia Hibbert. I know you tried Get a Life, Chloe Brown, but you weren't 100% on board with that. But try some of her other stuff.
I didn't like the hero in that
Helen
one.
Huang.
Okay. Doesn't Helen Huang, is it her that writes about autism? Do they have autism in her books?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the very first book she wrote, the heroine has autism, and Helen discovered that she's autistic as well. It's kind of like a what's the movie? He's the prostitute and she's the rich woman trying to hire him for the book that Helen wrote. He's a prostitute and she hires him to teach her about sex.
Oh man. Oh, that sounds cringy to me. Is it cringy?
I thought it was really good because, again, she has autism, and so she's trying to figure out how to, have sex with people, and so she just hires him because that's logical and makes sense.
That just sounds fucking cringy. Like, what hole does that go into? What do we have to do? I just feel like that's what it's gonna be.
Oh no, it's more like, I don't like it face to face. And it's like, well, we could do it doggy style. And she's like, what's that? And he's like,
Lord.
And then she's like, okay. Oh, this is fun. I like this.
Okay, I see, said the blind man. Okay.
If you're feeling adventurous, maybe give that a shot.
I don't know, girl. Okay, so let me just say, I do want to say this, and I was just looking at my Goodreads, challenge. This has not been the best year for me, y'all. I'm reading literally exactly what I need to read for the podcast and nothing more nowadays. And it says I am 12 books behind schedule.
Oh no. I'm scared to look at my list because I haven't.
Guess who's not catching up? Fuck that challenge this year. That's what I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck the challenge.
Yeah. So I'm not going to be like, I don't know if I have any space right this minute to read something more, but I definitely want to add to my may read one day list. When I'm in a mood and I want something, I can go and look.
Yes. Give us all the recommendations, because I'm sure there are books I'm missing out on.
All right. So I guess we're done. What do you think, Casey?
I think we're done.
All right, guys. I would love to know if you read Tools of Engagement and you thought it was a winner and not a tool. Let me know. Let us know. Join us on Shelf Addiction Official, or join us over in Book Clubs with a Z. And you can tell us on our next book club meeting, because, hey, we talk about random stuff in addition to the book club book. And you can say, hey, by the way, I did read that. And you guys don't know what you're talking about, because, we love those kind of conversations.
Oh, yes. Oh, they're so much fun.
Yeah. So definitely check us out over there. The links are in the show notes. I appreciate you for listening to this entire episode. Yay! Yes. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will catch you guys in the next one. Until next time, take care. Happy reading.
Everybody.
Bye. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review, or like this episode on your favorite podcast player. It seems so simple, but it really helps me out. You can share this podcast with other book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. You can also join the Shelf Addiction Patreon family. For as little as $2 a month, you will help us produce even more awesome content for your ears. You can also consider joining the Shelf Addiction official Facebook group, where we talk all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven Network. You can also reach us via email at info@shelfaddiction.com. Thank you for listening.